What's up guys, it's Crash, and I want to show you my Necromancer build guide for Diablo 4. So my skills are going to look very similar to a lot of the other builds out there, but some places I differ a little bit. So of course we're going to start off with Bone Splinters, and we're going to use that to charge our Essence, which is basically our mana. 5 into that, as well as Enhanced Bone Splinters and Initiates Bone Splinters. Moving on to this, we're going to go with Bone Spear. So this is mainly kind of a Bone Spear slash summoning build. So yeah, Bone Spear with the Enhanced Bone Spear and then the Paranormal Bone Spear. That's going to help out Bone Spear with some increased crit, as well as firing 2 additional Bone Shards upon being destroyed. So that kind of just adds a little bit more AoE to the mix. You're also going to want to pick up Unliving Energy. That's going to increase Essence by 9 when you max it out, as well as Imperfectly Balanced. Now, Imperfectly Balanced, of course, is going to use a little bit more Essence, but the 15% increased damage helps out tremendously. Hewed Flesh gives you a lucky hit chance to have a 12% chance to create a corpse, which corpses are going to be our main source of regenerating Essence. Moving on to the Corpse and Macabre skills. I put 3 into Skeletal Warrior Mastery just so that they can do some more damage up front. Grim Harvest, consuming a corpse generates 6 Essence. Like I said, generating Essence is a huge part of this build. And of course, Fueled by Death, which is 9% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. So of course, the amount of corpses you're going to consume, you're basically going to keep this like up at all times. Moving on to the curses, I used to run Iron Maiden early on, and I think early on it's pretty decent. And then I started running Decrepify, which is kind of like a little bit of a crowd control CC type thing. But recently I took it off, and I'll show you why in a second. I also have Skeletal Mage Mastery. That's going to increase the life and damage of the mages by 60%. So now I have 1 into Corpse Tendrils, which I prefer over Decrepify. The Corpse Tendrils, basically, once you cast it onto a corpse, it's going to pull everybody nearby into that, and as well as stun them. So it's a great crowd control, and it really complements Bone Spear really nicely. I also have Enhanced Corpse Tendrils. That's going to slow enemies as well as Blighted Corpse Tendrils, which gives a 30% chance to drop a Blood Orb. So kind of nice. You get a little bit of health back when you collect those. Now I'm currently running Bone Spirit, which I used to be running Corpse Explosion. A lot of the builds that you see, you're going to be running Corpse Explosion, and I still might go back to that because Corpse Explosion is 1, going to use up a corpse, which is going to generate Essence, but 2, when you have the Enhanced Corpse Explosion as well as the Blighted Corpse Explosion, it leaves a giant pool that does damage to enemies over 6 seconds, and dealing 10,000 damage just for having 1 into this is pretty big. So I might go back to that. But for now, I put 2 points in the Bone Spirit because when I use all my Essence, this only uses Essence cost all remaining Essence. So let's just say I go Bone Spear and I spam my Bone Spear and I have literally 1 Essence left. Yes, this isn't going to do a lot of damage, but when you pick up the synergy of Dreadful Bone Spirit, after Bone Spirit hits an enemy, you generate 30 Essence over the next 4 seconds. So that's going to give you an Essence boost. I haven't quite figured out whether or not spamming Corpse Explosion all around or hitting Bone Spirit to do more damage, you know, whether or not which is going to be better. But right now I'm testing the Bone Spirit and seeing how that goes. And it's been pretty decent so far. It gives that little burst damage. And then as well as when you have Legendaries that add to your bone damage, or Paragon points that add to bone damage. So in addition to that, I have a 1 into Serration, which if I had more points, I'd probably max this out. And I have 3 into Compound Fracture, Evulsion, and Rapid Ossification. So that's just all going to complement bone skills very nicely. Moving on to the ultimate, I have 1 into Inspiring Leader. I might take this out. I don't know why I have this in here. 4% attack speed isn't really much for minions. So 1 into Bone Storm, 1 into Prime Bone Storm, and 1 into Supreme Bone Storm. So that's going to basically just complement Bone Storm, and that's kind of your bread and butter when you want to keep that on cooldown for big elite packs, big giant mobs. Normally that's my opener with a boss. So it just deals a lot of damage. And moving on to your key passive, Ossified Essence, of course. Not going to choose any of these other ones. Ossified Essence is going to give that 1% increased damage for every point of Essence you have above 50. And with all the additional Essence that we're going to be generating, Right now I'm at 159. Usually when I can go into a dungeon, I might hit one of these consumables that adds 50 to my essence. So that's just going to give me more damage right off the bat. So yeah, that's basically it for skills. As far as while you're leveling, Bone Spear and probably Corpse Explosion with Decrepify is your best bet. Corpse Tendrils, you know, either Decrepify or Corpse Tendrils, either or is going to be completely fine. I probably wouldn't go with the Bone Spirit just because Bone Spear really does enough damage on its own. And you should be able to clear up to tier 16, tier 20 dungeons in Nightmare with just running Bone Spear. Like I said, if you want to do a little bit of extra damage here and there, Bone Spirit might be good for you. Or just stick with Corpse Explosion. I might go back to that, like I said. Lastly, I want to cover the Book of the Dead. For golems, I have them sacrifice as the iron because that's going to give me 30% increased critical strike damage. But of course, you don't have the ability to summon a golem anymore. I like the golem in some instances, but that 30% increased crit damage is pretty awesome. So we're just going to leave that like that. Skeletal mages, I have them on cold because with the cold damage, you gain the 2 essence, as well as ability to freeze or slow down enemies. So that's really nice to use. And then skeletal warriors, I have reapers. I also have this one because the 15% chance to carve the flesh off enemies and form a corpse. That's humongous, and that's actually what keeps a lot of the essence generated for me, because they're constantly just dropping off corpses when they do their attack, which is nice, so I can just kind of spam. Now, as far as when you get to level 50, you're going to unlock your Paragon. And as far as the Paragon goes, I personally just wanted to follow a line here that goes pretty much straight to this. I wanted to pick up some intelligence though, and I wanted to go back down just a little bit and pick up some of these intelligence nodes. And I feel that's what really amplifies the damage that I do on my Necromancer. You know, I might be missing out on some things here and there, but I feel that it's all helpful. Currently, I have in my glyph socket, I have Imbiber, which is going to give, for every 5 willpower purchased within range, you deal 6.6% increased damage while healthy, so above 80% life. And then additional bonus if you have the requirement of the willpower. To level these is quite hard because you have to do a lot of tiered dungeons with the sigils. And I mean, unless you just spam them out like crazy, the higher level ones, and get like a lot of XP, there's that. But this just takes some time to level. Currently, I have it at a level 12, and level 15 is going to be the next radius, so it'll pick up more. So that'll just give me more damage if I can pick up other willpower nodes around this. I also went down and I got this for the resistance to all elements and then 4% max life. So just get a little bit more resistance going and survivability. Sometimes, you know, I kind of consider this build a little bit of a glass cannon, and I probably wouldn't recommend this build for hardcore players because of the fact that sometimes you can be a little bit squishy. As long as you kind of sit back, use the Bone Spear, and let your skeletons do the work up front, you shouldn't have an issue. Moving on to my next Paragon board. Of course, you want to choose the one with Bone Graft. That's going to help out your bone skills. That's just going to make everything stronger. And with these Paragon boards, you can rotate them to whichever board attachment gate you want to do. So you want to just do the one that's closest to that legendary, just so you can get it right off the bat, and you don't have to work too hard to achieve that. Then I don't really even know what I did here personally. I'm just kind of experimenting, but I just went straight all the way through because I really wanted the Shaper of Bone rare node. The 20% bone skill damage plus 10 intelligence and another 10% if you have enough dexterity. I think that's big. That's really big. You also have the 5 bone skill damage around here. You pick up a lot of intelligence nodes on the way, another 5%, and this calcified as well. 30% crit with bone skills, then another 10% bone skill plus another 15% for bone skill crits. I feel like that's pretty important as well. There's other ones in here that, you know, not so bad. They're great for survivability possibly, but not really as important to me. And then moving on to my third Paragon board that I have started, I wanted to start a line here, and I went with the one with Flesh Eater, the legendary node, because consuming 5 corpses grants 40% increased damage for 6 seconds. I feel like with the amount of corpses that you consume, that would be pretty big. So I wanted to try that out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, then I mean, I'm a genius for doing this. I feel like a lot of other builds don't get quite this far into the actual Paragon part, but one thing to understand with this game and really the end game of Diablo 4, your Paragon board is what's going to make you stronger exponentially. Not really gearing up or anything like that. Yes, gear will help you, but your Paragon board with all these +5 intelligence, +5 dexterity for whatever class you are, that's what's going to make your character extremely strong and really last longer and do more damage in the end game. So moving on, we're going to talk about legendaries. I picked up a Deathless Visage, super important, adds that physical damage, adds that crit damage with bone skills, adds to your maximum essence, and then gives the bone spear. It leaves behind echoes as it travels, which are basically these exploding pools that do some damage, so that's kind of nice. I have a lot of my armor is going to be adding to intelligence. I would say almost every piece of armor or gear that I have adds to intelligence or stats or damage. And I mean, yes, it would possibly be better in some places to have add to health or things like that, but that's why I have all these socketed with the ruby. 2 rubies here, 2 rubies here, and I got a ruby here to add to your maximum life. And I feel like 3,000 life at my current level 68 is pretty decent. That's pretty good. I have good survivability as well as my armor is pretty solid. But as far as the actual aspects I have running right now, I have this bubble one that when you drop below 80% health or not healthy anymore, you have the bubble, which is great for survivability because necromancers don't really have like a survivability skill other than the skill right here. Blood Mist, which really only makes you immune for 3 seconds. It's good. Maybe if you were into PvP, it's a really good escape skill. Or if you're fighting a big elite pack, it's also great as well. But I don't feel like I need to waste points into this when I can maximize other points and do more damage in other places. So moving on, I currently have imprinted on this one, Bone Spirit deals increased damage based on distance traveled, just because I'm testing out Bone Spirit on this build right now. I have the barrier on this one, which, you know, you can kind of go with whatever you want on this, maybe something to add damage, something like that. But I feel like the barrier also just adds to my survivability. Plus I have a perfect roll on here on a 13% roll. So that was good. I have imprinted on here 2 additional skeletal mages, which is going to be extremely important. And if you happen to find the aspect that gives your skeletal mages the ability to cast Blizzard, that is a huge addition to complement the +2 skeletal mages, or +3 if you add it into a amulet. It's just really big. Like, it adds a whole nother element to your skeletons, and the summoning / bone spear build, it makes it even stronger. It gives you the ability to CC a lot of elites and a lot of large packs because they immediately will cast Blizzard before you even are close to damaging them. On my sword, I currently have the deal X percentage, increased damage for each second you stand still. I feel like with this, you know, you do a lot of running around in this game and kind of moving, and kind of like, I like the fact that, you know, you can do your evade and you have the dodge mechanics and whatnot, and that's great. But there are quite a few times where I'm sitting still and I can sit still for a few seconds, and just that few seconds when I'm moving around, 62 63 is already pretty strong. But see, I mean, I'm moving around, and even just after sitting still for 1 second, 68, 2 seconds, 75, 3 seconds, 81, I mean, that's another 2,000 attack power right there, just based on me sitting still for a little bit. That's another part that I really like. I really like that aspect. Putting that into certain items, that's great. I have amulet with the ossified essence. Key passive also increases the critical strike damage of your bone skill. It basically works hand in hand with the ossified essence, so it's going to give 1% of crit per essence above 50 up to 56%. That's absolutely huge, and this is a really important aspect to be running on your build. I also have this one, Bone Storm, consumes up to 8 corpses to increase its duration by up to 6.4 seconds on this roll. But Bone Storm, like I said before, is going to be your opener in a lot of situations with boss fights, as well as Bone Storm, you're going to use that for the big elite packs. And when you're creating corpses all around you, Bone Storm is going to scoop all that up. And not only is that going to increase your essence so that you can cast more, it's also going to increase the duration of that Bone Storm. so it kind of prolongs that attack power, which is really nice. Super important if you're going to be running Bone Storm, which pretty much every single build like this is going to be using. I have the ring that drops with killing Lilith. I have a sacred version of it. If a core skill hits 5 or more enemies, which your core skill, of course, for this will be Bone Spear. So if you can sit back and like kind of line them up a little bit, you know, especially with Corpse Tendrils, you're hitting that like 9 times out of 10. You know, you're benefiting from that aspect that is built into this unique ring more often than not. So that's really important. So currently I'm in World Tier 4 as a level 68. I was able to clear the dungeon at a level 65, I think, for actually being allowed to play over here in World Tier 4. I do kind of take some damage here and there, but most often than not, I can kill stuff before it kills me. But like I said, I definitely would not be playing like this if I was playing hardcore, so just keep that in mind, because like I said earlier, this build can be a little bit of a glass cannon sometimes. But let's see if we can find kind of a big pack and I can show you what I'm talking about. So like I said, I'm level 68 right now in tier 4, and yeah, this is just normal mobs, but I mean, I'm blowing through them pretty quickly. And they're really not doing a ton of damage to me. My skeletons more often than not are getting to them before I am, so you see we have these corpses, and you just kind of spam raise skeleton on the ground, and that's going to add to your essence. So here we have a pretty large pack. I'm going to use that corpse tendrils on the ground right there. See, it's going to pull them all right there, and I just spam this. Taking a lot of damage, but that's only because I'm in World Tier 4 right now as a level 68, and I'm not really geared up at all. But, you know, if you can just dodge stuff, I mean, you should be fine. I feel sometimes, you know, the survivability might not be the best with this character, but, you know, even this, like this elite, level 75, and I'm level 70, or level 75 elite, and I'm level 68, you know, I can kill her down pretty easily, just with the amount of damage that I do, so... God damn it. So right now, you know, I might be a little bit too low of a level to be playing on World Tier 4 right now, but I mean, that's really the only way that you're going to get better loot is playing in World Tier 4 and just kind of sticking it out and getting that ancestral gear. I feel like with parties, you know, especially having like a barbarian in your party would be really nice, just to have him kind of tank up front and you kind of hang back as a necro and just kind of cast your bone spirit. So there's that. But yeah, I've really been enjoying this build, and I'd like to make more build guides, just kind of experiment with other things. So that's going to do it for me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope there's some takeaways that you could use from my build to your build. At the end of the day, you want to do what works best for you and what you're really comfortable with playing. So I hope that there's some takeaways from my build to your potential build. If there's something that I missed or you have a question about something on this build, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to reply to you. With this game release, I've been trying to stream more, and I currently stream on Twitch. However, I will be making a move over to Kick for a little while just to see how that works. So I'm going to leave both of those links in the description below, as well as my Twitter and Instagram, so you can stay up to date with when I'm going live or when I'm going to post another YouTube video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, leave a comment down below, and share it with a friend who's also playing Diablo 4. That's it for me, y'all. I appreciate you for watching this video all the way through, and I'll see you guys in the next one.